listening to Reality Wrap. I'm your host, Melanie. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Reality Wrap. I hope everybody is doing well out there. I am sitting in a snowstorm right now. We are under a winter storm warning for 10 to 15 inches of snow, which is fine. I like the snow. Yesterday, for some reason, we moved out here from Virginia. I didn't bring any of our snow shovels, which is dumb because I didn't even really need snow shovels in Virginia. And I was like, oh, now I'm moving to Colorado. I'm going to leave these snow shovels behind. And it's not like I didn't know what I was getting myself into moving out here. I lived out here for 10 years, a long time ago, before I lived in Virginia. So yesterday I was like, I better go get some snow shovels if we're going to get this much snow. I had to go to 4 different stores before I could find any snow shovels. Everybody was sold out. Luckily, the last store I went to still had some, so I was able to pick up a couple of snow shovels. I don't know why I told you guys that. I am way over caffeinated. I got up at 4:30 this morning for some reason. Actually, I've been getting up like stupidly early for the last couple of weeks. I don't know why. I'm getting like 5 and 6 hours of sleep a night, which is fine. I can push through, but I have to dose myself up with caffeine. So if I start rambling and I don't make any sense, that would be why. Anyway, today I'm going to be recapping The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 5, Episode 8. I'm kind of curious as to what you guys think about Todd after watching this episode. He definitely doesn't seem like he is willing to put up with all the drama that goes along with his wife being on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I'm kind of curious if he actually knew what Bronwyn was getting herself into. I'm assuming he's never, ever watched an episode of The Real Housewives, so he wasn't really aware of what it entails. He didn't understand the assignment, and I'm also curious as to whether or not he's going to want Bronwyn, if she's asked back for season 2, to continue to film. My guess is if she does come back season 2, we're not going to see Todd at all. He's probably going to tell her, that's fine if you want to film, but I'm out. I'm not getting involved in this. It's interesting to hear on the after show, Todd's version of what he told Bronwyn actually went on when he went out to John about what was going on between Lisa and Bronwyn and what was actually said. So I'm going to play you that clip.
Todd's telling of it to me, and Todd is very blunt and very factual and very short words, like a few words, like Justin is. So I'm sorry, everybody else, I only believe Todd in this scenario. Todd told me that he went to John and said, this has to stop.
I wasn't coming to spend the weekend here to sit through a bunch of arguments. So it's got to stop.
And John said, so are you telling me we have to leave? And I heard from Todd that he said, I'm not saying you have to leave, but it has to stop. And if it can't stop, then maybe you should choose to leave.
Lisa's got to stop, or you guys got to go.
There was no Todd wanting them to leave. Todd wanted them to stay, but he wanted the bullshit to stop, for sure.
So Todd and Bronwyn's version, I don't know who is incorrectly telling the story. If Todd really told Bronwyn that, I didn't say that they had to leave. I said you guys can choose to leave, or if her retelling of his version changed from what he actually told her, I don't know. But clearly their version of what was said is wrong. Now, do I think that Todd was fully within his right to tell them, hey, this shit needs to stop or you guys can leave? I do. He was paying a lot of money for everybody to be there. What was it, like $20,000 a night or something like that? He flew them all there on a private jet. He just wanted a nice weekend with everybody. He works a lot. He travels a lot. So I get where he's like, I'm done with this shit. I do think he could have been a little nicer about it when he came out to talk to John. He was so like gruff and he was like, hey, what's going on with this shit between Lisa and Bronwyn? And in all reality, it really should have been Bronwyn going and saying that to Lisa, not Todd going to say it to John, because it's Lisa and Bronwyn who are fighting. I did run a poll on Instagram asking if Todd was overreacting when he asked them to leave. And 50% of the people who took the poll said no, John and Lisa should leave. 29% said he was overreacting, and 21% said he could be nicer, which is where I fell into. I think he could have been nicer in his approach to John. He came in so aggressive. All right, let's go ahead and get into the recap. So this episode starts with Lisa and Meredith, and they're at a spa getting massages. After their massages, Heather decides to come and meet them for coffee. Meredith is telling Lisa and Heather that she's going to have her bat mitzvah. Heather's like, am I going to be invited? Because I don't want to be left out like I was on Bronwyn's trip. And Lisa's like, yeah, so what's going on between you and Bronwyn? Heather tells them that Bronwyn had invited her over to her house to what Heather assumed was going to be an apology from Bronwyn so they could move forward. But instead, Bronwyn told her what a shitty person she was, which is not at all how that went down. Bronwyn did apologize to Heather for being messy, but she also wanted Heather to take responsibility for her part in it. And somehow Heather sees this as an attack on her. Heather tells them that she felt like Bronwyn was spinning the story and manipulating her. And if Heather didn't apologize to her, that she wasn't going to be invited on this trip. Heather asks Lisa what her friendship is with Bronwyn, because Bronwyn had told her when she went over to her house that she had FaceTimed Lisa to make sure it was going to be cool between her and Whitney because Whitney was going on this trip. Lisa tells her that she was annoyed after the call when Bronwyn was asking if John and Justin were going to be okay because John is a CEO of a company. Not sure how that has any bearing on what happened between John and Justin. John did go and get up in Justin's face, not once, but we saw him do it twice. And the second time really wasn't even warranted because he was just talking to Lisa. I think he asked her, oh, why do you keep calling Whitney a liar? And he was just saying it calmly. And John came running over there and got into Justin's face again. They actually showed clips of the phone call. And to me, the phone call looked fine. I don't know why Lisa would be offended. Lisa somehow took it that she and John were the ones starting the problems when it was Whitney starting it. Which, yes, Whitney did start it by accusing Lisa of being the one who started the Alibaba rumors. But Lisa did start ranting and raving and then went over to Justin and was saying, your wife is an effing liar, which in turn made John get involved. So it's not like Lisa and John were innocent in this whole thing. And on the phone call, it did almost seem like Bronwyn was just asking if she was going to be okay if Whitney and Justin came along. Almost like she was checking on her, not like, hey, you guys better be cool, but hey, are you guys going to be okay if they come? Heather asks Meredith how she feels about going on this trip, and Meredith says it's confusing because she was accused of spreading all these rumors last season about Sean, and apparently Sean went onto a podcast and said that Meredith uses Brooks to deflect from her own wrongdoings. At Angie and Sean's anniversary party, Meredith did go up to him and confront him about it, and he didn't apologize to her for bringing up Brooks. He just confirmed that that's how he felt. On the after show, Angie explains what actually happened.
He didn't bring her son into it. She brought her son into it by making a TikTok or a video somewhere saying, I would never talk about someone's sexuality. My son is gay. Sean was asked a question by a gay man, basically stating, I thought that was kind of weird that she brought her son in on it. Like, it did feel to me also that she was trying to use her son to say, oh, I would never. And I have multiple friends in the LGBTQ community that agreed that that's what it looked like. So Meredith, own the perception. If you're going to say your son's name, if you're going to bring them in the middle of something, then expect it to come up on podcasts and impress. It's like, yeah, how many times are we going to do this?
So I went out and found the clip I think that Meredith is talking about. It is from Behind the Velvet Rope, and it was put out last October of 2023. And Sean and David were talking about how last season when Meredith was alluding to the fact that she had heard rumors that Sean was gay. Let me go ahead and play this clip that I think is the clip that Meredith's upset about.
What about, Meredith said in this, I think, second most recent episode prior, my son, and I'm not coming from Meredith or Brooks, but she says, my son is gay, I'm on the board of GLAAD, I would never out someone's sexuality. Like, that's kind of is that another like roundabout, not good defense? I mean, that's kind of, she's using that as a defense to say, why am I being blamed for this? I would never out someone's sexuality. Not that there is a sexuality to even out.
Well, here's the thing that I've got to say about that. I think my opinion is that there were some strategic conversations behind the scenes. And I believe that after that episode aired, there was a whole bunch of backpedaling happening. And, she's a smart woman. And I think she took the opportunity to leverage her son and things like that, knowing that this didn't land quite the way they wanted it to. So again, not a valid defense, in my opinion. My thought is, if I were a cheater and if that were a thing, say that. Don't make it about sexuality. And, and I think they tried to do that to push the knife in a little bit deeper, and it didn't land the way they wanted it to. So.
Okay, so if that's the clip that Meredith is upset about, saying that he brought Brooks into the conversation, she is completely overreacting and twisting it to her narrative. For one, it was David Yontif who brought up Brooks. And for two, I don't think what he said was a problem. He didn't say anything negative about Brooks. He was just saying that he felt like Meredith was using Brooks' sexuality to kind of deflect from her saying that or implying that Sean was gay, and saying, I would never say that or imply that because my son is gay. I can see why Sean didn't apologize to Meredith when she confronted him at their anniversary party, because he didn't really say anything bad, and that was the way he felt. So why should he apologize for that? Now, we do see in the upcoming episode for next week where Seth says he has some sort of proof that Sean apparently said something bad about Brooks. So I guess we'll have to see what kind of proof it is. But if it's this video clip or this podcast clip, I don't see what he said was bad. So it's now time for everybody to start getting ready to go to Palm Springs. We see everybody packing. Whitney asks Justin how it's going to be between him and John. And he's like, I think we're going to be fine. Although there is one thing outstanding. John wants me to apologize to Lisa. Whitney's like, yeah, no. Lisa is the one who owes you an apology. Over at Lisa and John's house, Lisa is not excited to be going because she has beef with both Angie and Whitney, and she's still expecting an apology from Justin. Honestly, I think they both behave so badly. I don't think either of them deserve an apology. It kind of cancels each other out as far as I'm concerned. Or they both take accountability for their participation in what went down. Everyone starts to arrive to the airport. Whitney tells Bronwyn that she's not going to sit near Lisa because she doesn't want to start any drama or have any drama between the two of them. Bronwyn tells her, yeah, that's a good idea. They arrive to Palm Springs and they're separated into two different groups driving in SUVs to go to the house. Seth asks John about what happened at Angie and Sean's anniversary party. And John's like, oh, well, Lisa went over to Justin and asked how he deals with his wife and that she's a liar. Apparently, John just assumed that this brotherhood pact with all the husbands, that they wouldn't get involved in any of the drama. So I guess Justin was just supposed to stand there and let Lisa yell at him. It is kind of weird how John just expected Justin to stand there while Lisa was ranting at him. He does not acknowledge Lisa's involvement in provoking Justin to actually say something to her. Now, should he have been as aggressive as he was towards her and step into her? No, but he certainly could have acknowledged the fact that Lisa was ranting like a lunatic and saying bad things about Justin's wife. In the other car, Bronwyn is telling Angie and Whitney how she was telling Lisa and Meredith about what happened with Heather, and that Lisa and Meredith were trying to explain to her what Heather's point of view was instead of looking at it from her side like they did for Heather.
I'm incredibly hurt by my conversation with Meredith and Lisa from the plane. If they spoke to Heather and heard her side of things, I don't know why they weren't open to hearing my side of things.
I just think there's two sides to every story, and I feel like Heather and Bronwyn are 180 from each other, and Bronwyn might be 180 from me too.
If you agree with Heather that I'm two-faced and bitchy and Todd's too stupid to realize I'm a gold digger, how the are you here?
I get what she's saying. For somebody who's supposed to be neutral, which is what Lisa is claiming to be, Lisa is sure trying to get Bronwyn to see Heather's side of the story instead of seeing both sides of the story. If you were truly being neutral, wouldn't you say to each one of them, I'm really sorry that you guys are going through this. I hope you can work it out. And that's how you would leave it. You wouldn't be trying to defend one person's side. That's not being neutral. That's picking a side. They arrive to the house and it's huge, which makes Lisa happy because now there's enough room for her to stay away from Whitney. Seth starts running around the house and looking for a room that has a bathtub because he wants to make sure that Meredith is happy. He can't find one and he really starts to panic. Is it really impossible for Meredith to have a weekend without a bathtub? It's so strange. Bronwyn tells us in her talking head that there's a bad vibe with Lisa, and Lisa and Meredith have gone off somewhere in the house, and she doesn't know where they went. We see Lisa, John, Meredith, and Seth all sitting outside, and they're talking about Italy, and Lisa tells them that she doesn't like the food in Italy because it's too fresh. I don't know how food can be too fresh. I guess Wendy's is more her speed, and we all know that that's not fresh. That's all frozen and deep fried. On the other side of the house, Bronwyn has asked a jeweler to come down from, I think it was LA, with some pieces that she had picked out for Todd to buy her for their anniversary. One piece is $4 million. It's a $4 million necklace. And the other piece is a $1.5 million pair of earrings. I guess Lisa Barlow's $66,000 ring isn't that big of a deal when you're looking at jewelry that costs in the millions. It was a pretty big flex. Also, did anybody think it was kind of crazy that she just picked up the pieces and told the jeweler that she'd get back to her after she was done trying them on? Like the jeweler was just going to let her walk away with $5.5 million worth of jewelry just to go try on and decide what she wanted to keep. They had to have put down a deposit or something for her to be able to keep those to try on. Or the jeweler took them as soon as the scene was over. I don't know. We see Angie and Sean outside playing volleyball, and Angie keeps hitting the ball into the water, so they have to keep fishing it out of the water. I really like these two. They're really cute. They seem to have a good time together, especially considering they've been married for 25 years and they still joke around and have fun. Lisa and Meredith are outside hanging out, and John comes out and asks where Seth is, and Meredith tells him, I don't know, he's probably inside working on the phone. He's been working a lot lately. Seth finally comes out and he's like, I have bad news. And she's like, what? He tells her that he has to leave in the morning to go back to Ohio, and she understandably gets pissed. She's like, you've been gone for 2 weeks now. This isn't adding up. Exactly what did she mean when she was saying that it wasn't adding up? Is she implying that there was some funny business going on? Was she implying that he was leaving to go meet another woman by saying this doesn't add up? Also, I'm not really sure why Seth decided to tell her that in front of Lisa and John. Really, that is something he should have told her when they were alone and in private. Did he think telling her that in front of Lisa and John would maybe lessen the blow, or she wouldn't have a reaction? I don't know. She tells us in her talking head that the problems that they had before were because he was gone all the time, and it's starting to feel like that again, which sucks for her. I mean, he could at least give her a weekend. She also said in the after show that they're okay now. So whatever this is that they're going through, they must have worked through, and they're okay now. Seth tells us in his talking head that Meredith has high expectations and that sometimes he can't meet them all, like on the daily. So is he implying that she's hard to please? Which would make sense as to why he wanted to have a drink at 7 a.m. on the jet. And it would also explain why he was searching around the whole house, freaking out that there wasn't a bathtub. Even though it was out of his control, he didn't rent the place. So I don't know why he would have felt responsible for that, but he was very worried about how she was going to react to not having a bathtub. We see the rest of the group outside on the other side. The guys decide to come together and play cornhole, and it was funny. I can't remember which husband said it. He was like, hey, is it okay with your wife that we're all hanging out together? It might have been Justin saying it to John. I can't remember who said it, but it was interesting, that's for sure. Whitney tells Bronwyn and Angie that it might be awkward because Lisa is still expecting an apology from Justin, but both of them feel like Lisa owes an apology to him. Angie decides she's going to break the ice with the group, so she goes in to get, conveniently, Vida tequila shots to do a toast to Todd and Bronwyn's anniversary. So she comes out and she passes out all these shots, and they're all sitting around sipping their shots, and it's hella awkward between the women. No one is really talking. The guys are off in another pool or off to the side, and Seth is telling them how they all crushed it when it comes to their wives. And funny enough, Todd jokes that it was the ladies that crushed it with them. I was like, I don't know. Have you seen all these ladies? They're all pretty good looking. But I guess when you have loads and loads of money, it's the other way around. Bronwyn excuses herself to go to the bathroom, and Lisa asks the group if anybody has heard from Heather, and they all talk about how they feel bad for her. And Whitney's like, well, Bronwyn did want her here. She did try to work it out. And Lisa and Meredith immediately jump to Heather's defense and say, well, we heard a different story from Heather. Of course you heard a different story from Heather. Heather's not going to tell them what really happened, and that Bronwyn actually apologized to her for her part in their little falling out, and how Bronwyn just wanted her to take responsibility for her part. Why do they assume that Heather's version is the truth and Bronwyn Bronwyn's isn't. Again, they're not staying neutral. They're picking sides. Lisa decides to call Heather just to check in with her.
Look, I do miss Heather, but I'm not dumb enough to pick up the phone and call her on a trip that Bronwyn is hostessing. It's a double standard. Like, if you had called Lisa's mortal enemy, you'd be in the pool right now.
Angie makes such a good point there. It was super rude of Lisa to make that phone call within the group. If she wanted to make that call, why wouldn't you have done it privately in your bedroom? And when she says that had that been done to Lisa, that Lisa would have lost her shit. And I was like, you're so right. Bronwyn finally comes back from the bathroom and she sees that Lisa is talking to Heather. And we hear Lisa tell Heather, oh, we were just talking about why you weren't there. And Bronwyn sits down and she's like, why are we doing this now? Lisa finally gets off the phone with Heather, and while she's hanging up, she's like, we miss you. We wish you were here. And Bronwyn's sitting right there. It was so tacky. Bronwyn tells them that it was pretty weird that they just called Heather while she was in the bathroom. And Lisa's like, oh, we just wanted to call her and tell her that we missed her.
I feel like we're just telling her we miss her. Like, I think we all miss her and wish that things went better with you guys.
I invited Heather over with the intention very clearly to fix it with her so that Heather could come. It feels a little shady to call her and be like, we miss you, we miss you.
We're just sad that she's not here. That's all.
And I'm sad Heather's not here without a relationship.
And I believe you. It's more of a
I don't care if you believe
situation.
Heather over me.
No, it's
so
not.
weird
It's
you
not.
came if you do. But I also think you and I have a long relationship,
Yeah, we do.
Lisa. And I don't just listen when somebody talks poorly about you. I don't.
She's right. We've seen Bronwyn defend Lisa a couple of times now this season. Bronwyn tells Lisa that you've never called me the next day after I've had a fight with someone to see if I'm okay. And Lisa's like, well, have you checked in on me after me and Whitney were fighting? And Bronwyn's like, I did. And then we see a clip of Bronwyn sitting with Lisa after Whitney and Justin had left Angie and Sean's anniversary party. And she looked concerned and she looked like she was consoling Lisa. Bronwyn tells Lisa that the difference between her and Heather is that Heather is going around and talking shit about her while Bronwyn is trying to fix it. Lisa's like, I don't want to be involved between the two of you. If you don't want to be in the middle of it, then don't say anything to either person. Just sit there and listen and be a friend instead of constantly explaining Heather's side of the story. Bronwyn tells her it's such a double standard because when Lisa's fighting with Whitney, Bronwyn is supposed to call Lisa and make sure she's okay. But when Bronwyn is fighting with Heather, Lisa decides that she wants to stay out of it.
When it's me and somebody else, it's my responsibility to work out. But when it's you and someone else, my ass better ride your dick like it's my job, Lisa.
Lisa has the balls to say that she didn't ask for this and that eventually Bronwyn and Heather will work it out and then everybody can apologize to her. How about this, Lisa? Had you not called Heather in front of the whole group for Bronwyn to hear, this never would have happened. And then to say that everybody can apologize to her. Her behavior is getting so hard to defend. I don't know what is going on with her this season. I mean, she's always kind of been a little bad, but now it's like she is off the walls. Whitney comes in to check on Bronwyn, and Bronwyn tells her that if Lisa and Meredith were actually neutral, they wouldn't have to explain Heather's side of the story. She also brings up how there's some things going on within her family that Lisa happens to be a very big part of, and she knows that Bronwyn's having a hard time, and Lisa has not checked in on her about that. Obviously, we all know she's talking about Gwen meeting her grandparents. Todd comes in, and Whitney gets up and leaves.
I wasn't going to deal with this with these people.
I know, and
I think I told you specifically her that I wouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. Either I would leave or they could leave. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting there.
I know.
Why don't you just tell John and Lisa they should leave? We'll give them some money, get them a car, they can leave.
Maybe I should tell them because I'm nicer than you. Todd can be an asshole, but in this case, he's kind of like my knight in shining asshole. You know what I mean? Like, he is riding into battle for me, and I appreciate Todd coming to my rescue, but I would like Todd to come to my rescue with a Nerf gun, not a machete. And I know Todd only operates in machetes.
I found it interesting how Todd referred to John and Lisa as these people. And he specifically said that he didn't want to deal with Lisa's bullshit, which I found was interesting. And it made me wonder if it's because Lisa's involved with the stuff going on with Gwen and her newly found grandparents. I have to admit, I don't like the way he spoke to Bronwyn here. I feel like he's really putting Lisa's behavior on Bronwyn's shoulders, like somehow she was in control of the way Lisa was going to behave on this trip. Maybe they had an off-camera conversation where he was like, I don't want them to come. And she was like, no, it's going to be fine. I'll make sure everything's okay. And that's why he's kind of putting it back on her. But I definitely get the feeling like he's like, I told you I don't want to deal with these people. And now she's responsible for it. I don't like it. When we saw the episode where they were at lunch and he like shut her down that he didn't want to talk about it, she already knows his feelings and like that was that and she stopped talking about it. I thought maybe he was trying to protect Gwen from this being filmed on camera. But now after watching him in this scene, I feel like he might be a little controlling. Like he expects things to always go his way. And if there's any stray from what he wants, then there's going to be hell to pay. Like I said, I would be very surprised if we see him film anything next season, because after this episode, I feel like he's not coming off really well. Maybe it'll get better as the season goes on, but I don't know. I feel like we're getting to see a little bit more of the real him as the season goes on. We see Todd go out to talk to John, who's just sitting quietly on his phone, and the way he approached him was really rude. He's like, all right, dude, this is getting out of control. I told Bronwyn that I wasn't coming here for the weekend to deal with this bullshit. Lisa needs to stop or you guys are gonna have to leave. His tone to John was so unnecessary. He's coming at John like John was the one who did something and not Lisa. It's not John's responsibility to police his wife. Realistically, it should have been Bronwyn that went to Lisa and said that, not Todd saying it to John, because it wasn't a fight between John and Todd. It was a fight between Lisa and Bronwyn. After Todd says this to John, John immediately jumps up and says that he'll go talk to Lisa. So he goes and he finds Lisa and he asks her what's going on with Bronwyn, and she tells him that Bronwyn thinks that she's choosing Heather's side, and John's like, well, if you don't sort this out, he told me that we have to leave. And that's how the episode ends. Although I don't think they're gonna leave, because next episode we see her in it. So I'm assuming that they work it out somehow and she ends up staying. All right, guys, that's all I have for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I will be back next week. I have to go dig myself out of all this snow. Have a great weekend. Bye.